All right, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I want to make sure that our audio is always working because it seems like most weeks I mess it up. So I think we're good. The little green light is flashing at me, which I think is a good thing. But happy Wednesday. It's so good to virtually see those of you who are already here. I'm going to give folks a few more minutes to log on. Hey, Heidi. Hey, Ashley. Bonnie, Jen. Hey, everybody. And it is an exciting week for our church. A lot of transitions happening quickly, and it's been an exciting week already. Many of you gave up a good chunk of your evening. What was that? Tuesday night to help us get moved into our new location. And the old building is pretty much empty now. And it was an oddly, surprisingly emotional experience for me to walk through that empty building because that's where I met most of you was in that building. And it's been exciting to see what God has done in your hearts and your lives there. And we just pray for that to continue in our new location, for God to continue to reach people and give us a lot more space to be able to see that take place. And it's amazing anytime you move how much junk you accumulate, right? And we discovered that yesterday with all of the different trips back and forth. And thank you to Dean, to Jim, to Rich, to Jen and Denise loaded up your cars, everyone who took trips back and forth. And it was awesome to see the church kind of come together. And we're looking forward to, over the next few weeks, continuing to make progress on that building. We've already got like a temporary auditorium set up for we hope to be our gatherings soon. And met for the majority of the day today with different contractors and different people are going to be helping us to make the auditorium into a really special place to be able to worship the Lord. So a lot of cool things that are happening. And a lot of people have been asking about our regathering plans. We've got them really close to done, and I promise we'll communicate them when they are. We just want to make sure that we've got everything thought through, and both regathering from the coronavirus, but also making sure the building is set up and safe for everyone to come back, and for the kids to be able to run around and not run into anything they shouldn't find. So we are working on that, and we promise to communicate with you just as soon as we have nailed those down. I know many of us are itching to get back, and some of us maybe are a little bit more hesitant. We want to wait a few weeks, and that's totally fine as well. And you guys need to do whatever you feel like is right for your family under the leadership of your doctors and things like that. But we're looking forward to seeing one another. And anytime we get together for those work days, it's like a tease a little bit where we get to see each other for a few minutes. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. And also this week we announced today, and over the next few weeks you're going to get to know them more. But we've officially been able to hire our next assistant pastor, and they are in the process of packing up their lives to move from the Bay Area, San Jose area of California, all the way to the northwest corner of Connecticut. And it is Justin and Alicia Farmer, and they have 4 children, which you'll meet in just a second. But Justin and I were friends when we were in college together. He was a couple years my senior, which makes him really old, compared to old me. But a couple years my senior in college, and I was really, honestly, a great influence and a friend to me when I was in school. And when we started deciphering what the next hire and position New Hope needs to kind of continue to grow and develop in, it's really going to be one that kind of plays to my weaknesses, which it would be administrative and organizational and those kind of things. And that is right up Justin's alley. And so we connected over the past couple months, and I'm being completely honest with you, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke. If I could have picked anyone that I would have wanted to fill this position, it would be Justin. And thankfully, somehow the Lord told him to come here with us. And so we're really, really excited to have them here. So what I did is today I called them on Skype, and the Bowers are from the Bay Area. So you guys can talk about the Giants. I don't know if you're a Giants fan. I think Justin's a Giants fan, but Niners and Raiders would probably be a tough topic. But we called Justin and Alicia today and their kids, and I recorded a Skype call with them. And it's just a few minutes long before we jump into our Bible study. But I wanted you guys to be able to get to see their faces, get to meet their kids. before them showing up on our doorstep the first couple weeks of July here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that interview, and that should stream here through our live stream. And then I'll come back afterwards to give us our next lesson through the book of Proverbs. Okay, so this is Justin and Alicia Farmer. We're excited to have with us the Farmer family. So farmers, say hello. Everybody can see you now, all right?
Hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Awesome. So Justin, why don't you take a second, introduce us to everybody, and the kids can run or they can hang out, whatever they want to do.
All right. Well, I'm Justin. This is my wife, Alicia.
Let's start with Addie.
Let's start with Adeline. This is Adeline, our newest. She is 2.5 years old. Our most squirmy, actually, the most squirmy with me right here. This is Maggie. Maggie, how old are you?
4.
4. She's
awesome.
Years old. So just finished her first year of school in K4, right? Yeah.
Way to go.
Our soul boy, this is Titus. How do you want to tell him? Say hi.
I am 6 years old, but I'm almost 7.
He's almost 7. He'll be 7 in a couple days. So he keeps reminding us and letting us know that.
Very cool.
No, I don't.
And then this is Haley. This is our oldest. How old are you, Haley?
8 years old.
8 years old. So Haley
Awesome.
just finished up. What grade?
3rd grade.
3rd grade. So
Awesome.
they're excited to be heading into summer. So
Yeah. Kiddos, are you excited about Connecticut?
Little
A little bit, yeah. We got lots of kids around here that are excited for you guys to come. So they're fired up. We have 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 2-year-olds. And even almost 7-year-olds. Too. So
for you.
Awesome. Well, if the kids want to run, they can run and play if they want to, or they can hang out.
You guys can go upstairs.
Haley, can you take Addie with you? Take Addie up with you?
I'm pretty sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think everything will be great. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah.
Yeah, 4-year-olds are pretty responsible.
Yeah. All right. So Justin and Alicia, we're excited to have you guys next month. I mean, it's coming fast.
Yeah, it's flying.
Are you guys feeling pretty good packing wise, or how's your process or progress? I guess
we're trying to make good use of the days, but better use of the nights when the kids are in bed. So it's going pretty well.
Awesome. So Justin, why don't you just kind of introduce your family to the church? Kind of tell us your story, maybe how you kind of felt the Lord leading you into ministry, how you and Alicia met, social security numbers, anything private you'd like to share. You feel free. But kind of introduce yourself.
Well, I've been in California pretty much my whole life. So I was born and raised here. We moved where I am currently when I was in the 5th grade. So this is the church I've been serving at. When the school I've been serving at, my family's been here for almost 24 years. So it's been quite a while. And but I was saved before. I was saved in the 2nd grade, or 3rd grade. I was saved in the 3rd grade during a chapel service at our school. And my family kind of got into church a little bit later than that. It took us a couple of years to really find a church and get involved. And but once we did, we were plugged in right away, actually, when the church pretty much started. So, but we've been serving in the church ever since. I came on staff when I graduated college 11 years ago. And when I was in Bible college, you asked me the question, but how I felt kind of the lead into ministry. But when I was going to go to college for a year, Bible college for a year, and then I was going to do my own thing. I had my own plans. But at a missions conference at school, God just totally grabbed my heart and just said, Justin, your plans are not my plans. I have different plans for you. And I don't even know what that meant. I just knew he wanted me at school for 4 years, and he just kind of led me from that point. So, and, I haven't regretted it. Haven't regretted a bit. So we kind of met at school.
I'm a little bit older.
So
that's always my wife is too, but I have to be really careful about how I navigate that part of the conversation. So I get that.
I want to announce it,
That's why I ease into it so that she can take it from there. But really, how we met is she came to serve on staff at the church we're serving at. So she taught 1st grade for a few years, and then we started dating while I was in school, but she was teaching here, and the rest is history. So
there you go.
but,
She was won over by your winsome charm and Mr. Casanova over here.
yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah. So our church knows Justin and I actually were friends in school.
Mhm.
Justin is where we went to school. It was relatively strict. We had what's called dorm supervisors, which most of you could probably know that as kind of an RA, kind of a residence assistant. Justin was mine. So my sophomore year, Justin was the one writing me demerits for not properly making my bed and things. But
that was so strict.
yeah. So those stories will remain private. We won't bring those to Connecticut with us. But that's awesome. Well, Justin and Lisa were here. What was it? 3 weeks ago now, or 2?
Yeah,
something
3
like
weeks,
that.
I think.
In the middle of our quarantine there. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you that or not, but they came through for just a couple days. We're able to see our current church building. Now we brought them over here in what is now, I guess, our current church building. I keep calling the old one our current church building, but the new building. And we're here kind of, we walk around. We drove around Connecticut a little bit. And at that point, we all kind of agreed after talking through kind of our philosophy of ministry and things like that it seemed like the Lord was leading us in this direction. So we are excited to have him. Justin is going to be assuming the position, and you guys know our church, we're not really big on titles because everyone kind of does everything, but his official position will be administrative pastor, and he's going to come alongside and help us with organization of really the day-to-day world of New Hope, from the ministries to the financial oversight to this brand new facility that we got to try and do something with. So we are excited to have them here. Starting hopefully the first week of July is what we're shooting for. And if they can get all of their lives packed up into a truck and get it here, that is the goal. But Justin and Lisa, why don't you kind of share kind of your hearts of why you're excited to be here, what you're kind of hoping God does in your family, why you would like to move to Connecticut. People in Connecticut are always shocked anytime people move here. But I said you guys might be the one area of the country that you can move to Connecticut and actually would be a cost of living decrease. So for everyone else, it's an increase. But maybe just kind of share your heart for a couple of minutes, and then we'll let you guys get back to your packing. But
well, I'll start, and then I've been pretty much, because I've known you since school, so I've been kind of following you from a distance, not creepily, but just I've been on social media and stuff, and seeing. So I knew when you took over New Hope, and I was excited for that, and have seen kind of from afar, from a distance, just what God's been doing there, and I've been excited with you guys for that long, and just kind of following along with you in that. And I'm really, to be honest, I've seen just over the past couple months, as I've been talking to you, even over the past couple months, just hearing about the faith of the church and the excitement of the church, and that to me, and even the sacrifice of the church, and like that building you're sitting in right now, just the stories that I've heard behind that. And to be honest, I can't wait to get and meet the people that took part in that faith, and I just think that's so exciting. So we're excited just to be able to be a part, even a little bit later, of what God's doing there. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Elise, any hesitation about Connecticut? You excited, or what do you think?
Well, I'm a little worried about I've never lived anywhere besides Mexico, Arizona, California. It's all been pretty sunny, so you guys will have to give me some tips on how to survive.
we have. It's sunny today. We have about 2 or 3 months, maybe, of solid sunshine. But then, but it's great sunshine, Alicia. Great sunshine when it is.
You're supposed to say that when we got there. Okay.
I already broke the news. Alicia grew up in Mexico, and I said, we have great restaurants. They were making fun of me because everywhere I drove them around, I was like, that's a good place to eat, and that's a good place to eat. But in my opinion, we don't have great Mexican food, but we do have a lovely little mom and pop shop with a drive-through called Taco Bell. that you're more than welcome to
Yeah,
frequent.
we know that well.
Yeah, they take quesadillas and burritos and Doritos and they just combine them into superfoods. So you can just enjoy.
Authentic.
That's really I know it is. I know it's authentic. It's for the real deal.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you guys here. We're excited for your family to get here. Justin, we're excited to see you, be fruitful in ministry here, and we're excited for the opportunity to be able to be a part of a team. Our church has always just kind of had a teamwork spirit. We came here, there was 30 people and 600 square feet, little classroom space, and they just jumped behind an idiotic 24-year-old pastor and decided to hang on for the ride. And 7 years later, it's amazing. We were just walking around this morning, like sitting in 15,000 square feet of work to be done, but what God's done. And it's not about a building, but hundreds of people that lives have been impacted by that little room and those people. So we're excited to have you guys here. We're excited for you guys to be a part of it. And we're going to be praying for them. They're moving their lives from a place they've lived for 11 years across the country over the next few weeks. So we definitely want to be in prayer for them. And then we will be having services by the time they're here. So we'll look forward to greeting them the first couple weeks of July. I don't want to nail us down if we don't want to nail down, but those first couple weeks of July, having you guys here and getting you all situated and everything. And then we'll get them to everyone's house in the first, but we'll want to be able to spend some time with them, get to know them. And I know you guys are going to enjoy this couple. And, every staff couple that's come to New Hope, it's been our goal to be a blessing to them, just they've been a blessing to us. And I know that you guys have that, spirit towards the farmers as well. So anything else you'd like to share before we hang up and they have to hear me teach the Bible for the 14,000th time? But, the floor is yours,
Yeah, we're
excited to come out and meet everyone and thankful to get the opportunity.
Yeah. Just pray for us to move and everything, and that it all goes well. And that's pretty much it. That's our life right now, is just packing everything. So literally all week, that's what we've been doing. So
when you have kids, it's like, well, how did that closet get that full, and how do you have this much junk everywhere? But it is actually it's with a church. We went through that yesterday with a church. I'm like, how does a church accumulate junk? But we filled this 15,000 square feet with junk already, so we got to go through it all and minimize. But we might wait. We might save that project for the first couple weeks of July. I don't know. I think there might get some more extra work involved there. So.
Get unpacked before we get there.
No, I'll wait. It can hold. It can wait for a little bit. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to jump into the Bible study. But thank you guys for joining us. And church family, Justin and Alicia, I'm going to have you guys throw your Facebook stuff in the comments and stuff on this, just so they can find you and send you friend requests and send you awkward game invites to play Farmville, if people still play Farmville or whatever. But look them up, add them on Facebook. Let's get to know them a little bit, and we look forward to seeing you guys next month.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so that is Justin and Alicia Farmer, and we look forward to them getting here over the next few weeks. And for any of you who have ever moved, I'm sure most of you have, but a move like that across the country with a young family, there's a lot that goes into that. So be praying for them and do our best to encourage them and welcome them here when they're here. What a strange time to be transitioning like that throughout everything that's going on in our world right now, the coronavirus and the uprising that's taking place in some of the cities, and just kind of a crazy transitional period. But one of our favorite songs I like listening to right now, even when I don't see it, right, you're working, right? Even when we can't see what God's doing, God is doing something, and we have to trust in that and hold to that. And God has done some miracles for our church while we haven't even been able to get together. So we're looking forward to them being here over the next few weeks, and you guys getting to know a great couple. I know they're going to be a blessing to our church family, just as I know you will be to them. Proverbs 4 is where we're going to be in our Bible study this evening, and we've been working through the book of Proverbs together, and I won't be too much longer. I know I've already been yes, Waymaker, I love that song. So already been going for about 25 minutes here, so I won't be too much longer. But Proverbs chapter 4, I think most of us like to consider ourselves to be pretty morally neutral for the most part. We don't think that God really cares about a lot of what we do with our life, whether what our hobbies are, or our jobs, or the language we use, or how we parent, or how we spend our money. I think sometimes we can slip into this mindset that that stuff's too small for God to really care about, or that stuff's not important enough for God to care about. Proverbs just obliterates that mindset. There is no part of our lives, Proverbs teaches us, no part of our lives that he doesn't want complete control of. There is no part of our lives that God doesn't want to be in complete control of. The message of Proverbs is that wisdom isn't just good advice, but last week we saw wisdom is a person, and it's a person to be followed, and it's a path to be walked. Now, chapter 4 kind of has some bookends in verse 4 and verse 23, and they address the heart. Verse 4 and verse 23, kind of starting and ending of this proverb, and it's kind of bookended with the heart, and it makes it pretty clear that pursuing wisdom or pursuing Jesus is primarily an issue of the heart. Verse 4 says, let your heart hold fast to my words. Verse 23, keep your heart with all diligence. The heart is more than just the thing that's pumping blood through your body right now. The heart is your affections, your desires, your ambitions, your attitudes. Basically, your heart is where wisdom must work. So what I want to ask as we kind of work through this proverb is, how do we shepherd our hearts wisely? Okay? How do we shepherd our hearts wisely? Let's start in verse 1, okay? Chapter 4, verse number 1. Hear ye children the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake you not my law, for I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. So how do we shepherd our hearts wisely? First thing I want us to see is that we should pass wisdom on generationally. Pass wisdom on generationally, okay? Verse 3, when I was a son, my father, he taught me this. He said to me this, right? What's going to follow are words that were passed down from a father to a son, and that father received them from his father, right? This becomes a generational legacy of godliness. What a great goal to set up in our families, that our families would be a legacy of generational godliness. There is a multi-generational dimension to the training of wisdom. You have to understand this as parents. We are passing down patterns to our kids. And they're either going to be wisdom or patterns of wisdom or patterns of foolishness. So we've got to ask ourselves a question, okay? Are we living out patterns before our kids or maybe before our grandkids that are leading their hearts to see Jesus, to love Jesus? Are we worshiping together? Are you doing your best during this quarantine to try and focus their young hearts on the word? Maybe trying to gather them around for those Church in the Fort videos, or try and get them to listen to me talk. That would probably be pretty difficult for your kids. I can't even get my kids to do that. So try and get them, doing this together. One thing that I hope is that throughout this quarantine process, maybe it's given you or forced you into an opportunity to have to shepherd your family a little bit more intentionally, because we don't have the junior church workers, we don't have the Awana Club workers, we don't have the pastors there at the church to kind of help us in that cause. So we kind of have to take some of that responsibility upon our own shoulders, and I hope that is taking place. If not, maybe right now decide from here on out, right? I'm gonna choose to pass down some generational godly patterns to my kids and to my grandkids. Look at verse 2. I love this. He says, "For I give you good doctrine." In other words, I give you good principles. I give you good precepts. Throughout the Old Testament, the precepts or the doctrine was the law. Okay. Anybody else get this feeling when reading the Psalms? Like, how is he talking about the law of God with this much passion? Like, how is he talking about the law of God with this much emotion? Ask yourselves a question, parents or grandparents. Is the way that we live and the way that we model spirituality in our life, does that show our kids that God's law is boring and burdensome? Or does it show it that it's loving and liberating? He says, I'm giving you good doctrine. I'm giving you good precepts. I'm giving you the good law. This is a good thing. There is a way that we can speak about Scripture. There's a way that we can speak about even church and the some of the spiritual disciplines that we go through as Christians. And we can speak about them as parents as burdensome or a blessing. Okay, understand this. The good news is this: God has created the world in such a way that you are not forced to choose between your happiness and God's glory. You don't have to choose between those two things. You don't have to choose between your happiness and God's glory. Sometimes when kids are raised in church, they feel like, well, I can either go off and make money and be successful and be happy, or I can glorify God, or I can do what God tells me to do. No, these are not mutually exclusive, okay? Scripture teaches that God's good doctrine, God's good precepts, God's good wisdom leads and results in our joy. I'm giving you good doctrine. Look at verse number 4. Verse 4 says, He taught me also and said unto me, Let thine heart retain my words. I don't know if you guys remember when you were in high school, you had to take the, we called them achievement tests. I don't know what you called them, but it's the whole week where you got to fill out all the bubbles and you got to kind of see how you're doing on those. I hated that week. I hated it. I got so tired of filling in all these little bubbles. But the one that I always kind of struggled with from time to time was reading retention. I think that's what it's called, where you read like a paragraph or read an essay and then try and write down or answer questions about it. I would struggle with that. That's the word he uses here in verse number 4. Retain my words. Retain my words. He's saying, as a parent, I want my child, I want my son, I want my daughter to hold fast to my words. So parents, are we more concerned about our kids' actions, or are we concerned about what their hearts are retaining? And I'm guilty of this, okay? I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And a lot of times I am very deliberate on addressing the action, right? No, don't do that. No, don't go there. No, stop this. No, don't punch your sister, right? We're deliberate on the actions. But verse 4, he's very intentional. He says, I want your heart to retain my words. I don't just want outward conformity. I want an inward heart decision. I want an inward life change. There's maybe some teenagers, or even people that maybe grew up as Christians that are watching this, and they know there's a big difference between doing what mom and dad maybe have told you to do and your heart really retaining it, your heart really holding to it. Let me ask this. Maybe you're not a parent, but just as a Christian believer, are you more concerned with what you do as a Christian, your actions, or where your heart is and what you're treasuring in your heart? This multi-generational change to the charge to the people of God is to train up future generations in wisdom. It forces us to address the hearts. Maybe you're watching this and you don't have physical children at home or grandchildren. The same principle applies in discipleship to spiritual children. Our church is full of baby Christians, people who have recently come to faith in Christ. And our church, we want to focus our attention not just on the exterior actions and not just on what they do, but on making sure the heart is retaining the truth of God's word, making sure the heart is holding on to what is important. Is all our focus on getting those we lead to Christ to do the right thing and look the right way? Or are we more concerned with their hearts? Are we more concerned with their motives? So how do we shepherd our hearts wisely? First thing we see recorded here is that we want to pass wisdom on generationally. Secondly, I want to embrace wisdom affectionately. Embrace wisdom affectionately. Wisdom is personified as a lady. And here, wisdom is pictured as the ideal relationship, okay, or the ideal perfect love. Okay, look at verse number 6. Verse 6. It says, forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. It says basically, do not forsake her. Love her. Value her. Verse number 8 says, exalt her. Verse number 8 says to embrace her, right? We're getting this picture of embracing wisdom with affection, that we're pursuing it, right? That we're valuing it. We're not going to forsake it. We're going to love it. We're going to exalt it. We're going to embrace it. Wisdom is not just pithy sayings about how to live, but it's about a person who yearns for the affections of our hearts to be centered on Christ. Wisdom is about affection over adherence. It's about delight over duty. It's about passion over pretense. Wisdom is about the heart. You know, whenever we have Valentine's Day, what do you see? You see hearts plastered all over everything, right? Love, love, love this. I love that. I love that. My kids, when they're going to write a love note to mom and dad, they can't write love. What do? They write a heart, right? Because that's our seat of emotion. That's our seat of affection. And here we see recorded that we should embrace wisdom with our hearts. If your wife, okay, gentlemen, is unimpressed by your affection and unimpressed by your unemotional attempts at winning her heart, why do we think that God would be okay or would be impressed by our heartless, affectionless action, right? That I just do the right things, to show up, and I got to grit through this. No, it's not about just duty. It's not about just pretense. It's not about just adherence. It's about affection. It's about delight. It's about passion. The wisdom of God is Jesus. I embrace that with passion. So if we walk in folly, if we walk in foolishness and sinfulness, it's not that you are just acting unwisely, which you are, but it's an evidence that we have a problem in our relationship with Jesus. If we don't take responsibility for our actions and time and we gravitate towards laziness, you have a problem with Jesus. It's not just a wisdom problem. It's not just a self-control problem. If you struggle with honesty in, your financial world, that's not just a wisdom problem. That's a problem with Jesus, right? Wisdom is referred to here as Christ, and don't forsake it. Don't forget to love and to exalt and to embrace wisdom. So how do we shepherd our hearts with wisdom? First of all, I pass wisdom on generationally. Secondly, I embrace wisdom affectionately. Thirdly, we want to walk in wisdom intentionally. Walk in wisdom intentionally. Look at verse number 10. It says, "Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many." Okay, notice the huge contrast between wisdom and folly in these verses. Okay, we're going to see running versus stumbling. We're going to see light versus darkness. We're going to see righteousness versus evil. Over and over again in these 9 verses, he's going to contrast what is wisdom and what is foolishness. So we've got to walk in wisdom intentionally. Let's look at verse number 11. "I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble." This way of wisdom, this path of wisdom, is described less here as the straight and narrow and more as the straight and clear, okay? God's design for wisdom is not straight and narrow where you walk timid and fearful and scared, constantly worried about falling off the side into foolishness. No, it's the open highway where we can run without worry, where we can feel that freedom of walking in wisdom. The tone of Proverbs is overwhelmingly joyful and exultant, and that wisdom leads to blessing and happiness and joy and peace. Look at verse number 12 again. It says, "When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble." He's talking about when you're walking in wisdom, you're not going to fall on your face. When you're walking in wisdom, the path is going to be clear. There's intentionality here that we talked about, walking in wisdom intentionally. That intentionality is found in not looking down, okay, to make sure they're in the right place, but looking up to make sure we're following the right person. So often we're as Christians focused on, "Pastor, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Am I supposed to go here? Am I supposed to go there?" Now, much more of our attention should be focused on who we're following. Much more of our attention should be followed on Jesus, and we'll find that we are set free to run after him. Okay, you pursue him as your love. Look at verse 14. Verse 14 says, "Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away." So he's moving from the positive aspects, from the way of wisdom, to the negative aspects of the path of foolishness. He says, the way of wisdom, you can run free, it's straight, it's clear. Look at Jesus and run, man. Like there's a lot of freedom in that. But when you live your life on the path of foolishness, that same intensity that we give to godliness, we need to exert to avoid and destroy the sin and foolishness in our lives. Why is it important that we intentionally run from and flee foolishness? Look with me at verse 17. Verse 17 says, "For they eat the bread of wickedness, they drink the wine of violence." Why is this intentionality towards fleeing foolishness necessary? Because foolishness eats, drinks, and sleeps. Okay, that's what verse number 16 says. "For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause themselves to fall." It eats, drinks, and sleeps the sin that wants nothing more than to run you and destroy everything that we love, everything that we hold dear, right? Without wisdom, we will give ground to that which will kill us, to that which will harm us. Because foolishness wears a disguise, and wisdom exposes the reality of the situation. Look at verse 18. I love this. Verse 18. "The path of the just," look at this, "is as the shining light, that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. But the way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble." Foolishness is a disguise. Wisdom exposes reality. Wisdom and righteousness is about light and bright and freedom. Folly, sin, evil, what's that about? Darkness, heaviness, stumbling, fear. Foolishness talks a good game, okay? It talks a silky smooth talk that causes us to miss the fact that this is an atom bomb posing as a gift-wrapped package ready to blow the world up, okay? There will be paths for you, Christian, that seem best, but aren't. There will be paths in that moment that seem best, but are foolish paths. Paths like hoarding financial possessions, hoarding, if I have more, I'll have more security, and it's not the best path, where I withhold. Well, I don't want to confront that friend who's going down a wrong way because I want to preserve that relationship. But no, it's a path of foolishness. Well, I want my kids to love me. I want my kids to talk to me, so I don't want to discipline them. I don't want to challenge them. No, those paths may seem right, but they're the paths of foolishness. These things may seem morally neutral, but they're not. And they're walking in the path of foolishness, and that leads to destruction, either literally or spiritually. We've got to change the way that we think about walking in godliness. The path of wisdom is not the way less traveled. The path of wisdom is the way of life and the way of righteousness. It's the path of life that is empowered by the giver of life. So often we phrase it in such defeated terms. Well, the path of wisdom is the road less traveled, and it's the high road, and we got to suffer through it. No, this is the path to joy. This is the path to righteousness. This is the path to life, to freedom. Now, this is the path I want to follow after. So how do I shepherd my heart? I pass wisdom on generationally. I embrace wisdom affectionately. I walk in wisdom intentionally. Now number next, guard wisdom vigilantly. Guard wisdom vigilantly. Let's look at verse number 20. "My son, attend to my words, incline thine ear unto my sayings." Just as important as it is to be on the way of wisdom is having a heart of wisdom. Let's bounce into verse 23. I love this verse. "Keep thy heart with all diligence." Why? "For out of your heart are all the issues of life." So when we say guard your heart, what are we guarding? Are we guarding an organ, right? Are we guarding that blood pumper in our chest? No, we are guarding the core of who we are. We are guarding what is most true about us. So how do we guard our hearts like that? How do we guard our hearts like verse 23 says, to keep thy heart with all diligence? Well, he gives us some ways. Look at verse 24. "Put away from thee a froward mouth, and perverse lips put far from thee." What's the first step to guarding your heart? Guard your mouth. Guard your mouth. Foolishness and our mouths go hand in hand. And maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, but my foolishness and my mouth cross paths more times than I'd like to admit, right? Gossip, slander, backbiting, dishonesty. We won't walk in wisdom. We won't guard our hearts if we won't guard our lips. James, the guy who says, "Hey, if anyone wants wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally, and he'll give it to you. He upbraideth not," also said The mouth itself is set on fire, right? The mouth brings foolishness. So how do we guard our hearts? We guard our mouth. Next, we guard our purity. Look at verse 25. Look thine eyes, look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee. Now, Proverbs 5 is going to address marital fidelity and sexual purity. So knowing what's coming at, it's hard to miss the connection of biblical wisdom and purity. Verse 6, we go back, says, love your bride, don't leave her. Fidelity to wisdom leads to fidelity to your wife. Fidelity to wisdom leads to fidelity to your spouse. How do I guard my heart while I'm guarding my lips? How do I guard my heart while I guard my purity? That I've got my eyes set on wisdom, and my eyes are focused on her. I'm not going to look to the right or to the left, right? Or my eyes are straight on her. Is that the testimony of wisdom? Is it also the testimony of us with our eyes, right? We've got to guard it. That there is this focus in our hearts to look on that which is pure. So we guard our mouths, we guard our purity, we guard our purpose. Look at verse 26. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. So we guard our mouths, we guard our purity, we guard our purpose. I love this. He says, this spirit of like total vigilance. In verses 21 and 25, we see our eyes are fixed on Jesus. In verse 26 and 27, my feet are stayed on the path of wisdom. Verse 24, my lips are pursuing wisdom. Verse 23, my heart is believing the right truth. Understand this. This is a complete surrender to walking in this path. Let me ask this, and I'll be quiet, okay? How diligently and how ferociously do you guard your heart? How diligently and how ferociously do you pursue wisdom? In moments of temptation, in moments of weakness, do we embrace and treasure the principles and the person ultimately of wisdom? I think we can take heart because the one that is even better than Solomon sets the example for us and provides the power for keeping your heart. In Luke 22, it is the epic crossroads of the paths of wisdom and folly, and it takes place in the Garden of Gethsemane. That this collision of wisdom and foolishness. When you find yourself weak in pursuing wisdom as your first love and treasuring it as the path of righteousness, look to Jesus in the garden as he treasures wisdom so much and guards his heart so ferociously, right? You see him in prayer, guarding his heart, guarding his lips, guarding his purity. He even is sweating great drops of blood as he does this epic crossroads of wisdom and foolishness. Jesus embraced and endured the path of wisdom. And now he offers himself to you and to me as the path of wisdom. Do you often feel foolish? I do. Do you often feel wicked or sinful? We need to see Jesus as the open pathway of wisdom, offering himself without costs. Maybe you're watching this and it feels like the path of righteousness and the way of wisdom seems just impossible. Like you've fallen on your face more times than you could even count. I want you to hear Jesus say to you tonight, come unto me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. The gospel is not a ball and chain. Wisdom is not a ball and chain that shackles us to a perpetually disappointing and discouraging journey towards the unattainable. And for a lot of us, that's what our Christian journey is. I'm shackled to this pursuit that I can never win at. I'm shackled to, I'm being like Christ. Well, I'm never going to be like Christ, right? We've got this joyless pursuit to the unattainable. The gospel, wisdom, is the key to a life of freedom, to a life of joy, to a life of peace. And I'm challenging you, if you've often viewed wisdom as this jagged mountain you've got to climb on each side to find the hidden jewel at the top, see what Solomon writes to us here. It is a clear and open highway. As long as you are pursuing Jesus with all your heart, you can run free, your foot won't stumble, right? We continue to run and pursue after him. We make sure that we're not on a path of foolishness. We're guarding our heart by our lips and our purity and our eyes. But ultimately, understand the way of wisdom is the greatest path to freedom and to joy and to peace, made possible by a God who changed our hearts and sets us in a love relationship with Jesus Christ. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to bring this back up over here, and hopefully you guys got some truth out of that study this evening from Proverbs 4. It was a help to me as I was working through it. But we're looking forward to, over the next few weeks, getting back together. We've got a tentative date, but I don't want to announce it to you until I'm really sure that it's going to all work out well. But I promise you it's soon. And we're doing our very best to be able to gather together soon, safely. Thank you for those of you who were willing to fill out that survey. That was a huge help to us in trying to figure out where everybody's at with all of the different things going on. Because all of us have different emotions, all of us have different feelings about what's taking place. So thank you for those who were willing to fill that out. That helped. And over the next few days to weeks, you will hear about our regathering plans. And we also, if you're out there and you want to help work in the building, you send me an email, let me know. And we've got time. I actually have going to have guys there on Friday and Saturday this week. If you'd like to jump in and get some work done in the building, you send me a message or send me text, email, phone, homing pigeon, whichever you'd like to send my way. And we'd love to get you in there. We're removing some wallpaper, so that'll be fun. But we'll get it done over the next few days as well. But I love you guys. We miss you. For those who were able to see Monday, it was such a joy to see you. For those who weren't able to make it, or we hope to see you in the future, maybe at one of these work days or on a Sunday soon. But it is a joy of my life to be your pastor. I'm so honored about the opportunity I have to continually teach Scripture to you. And I am so excited about what's going to be happening over the next few months at our church with Justin and Alicia joining our team with this move to this new facility. I don't know what God's up to, but I'm excited to be along for the ride with you and watching what God does when we get out of his way, because it's been pretty exciting so far. Okay, I'm gonna bring up that closing screen. You guys hang out in the comments for as long as you like, and I want you guys to throw some more feedback in there for Justin and Alicia about things to look forward to in New England. Somebody wrote Black Bears. Was that you, Bernice? I don't know if that's something to look forward to or not, but Dunkin' Donuts, winter. These are just terrible suggestions. No, but winter's cool. I actually like winter. So sledding, skiing, those kind of things. But throw some things in there they can have to look forward to. And we look forward to the chance we have to meet them, for you guys to be able to meet them. But give them some ideas here in the comments. And thank you, Bernice. We love you as well. So we look forward to seeing you soon. And Phil, definitely pick these up. Awesome. We're excited too. Everyone's commenting. It's going too fast. All right. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon.